White. White. Top one.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this solo video, we are going to take a look at a story from 2021. It involved a couple setting out on a van life road trip, but they would soon drop off the radar. As the questions began to get asked and worry and fear spread like the plague, it soon seemed that the man with her was not the helpless bystander, but was quickly suspect number one. Now, when he was finally tracked down, his story was exactly that. Helpless bystander. Couldn't do a thing.
You don't treat people like this.
But then he quickly rose to the tippity top of the police's suspect list. Because, I mean, come on. Let's be real here. This story is about as disturbing as it gets when the, innocent victim here, he was a victim too. Well, he has a dark and disturbing history that doesn't even just stop with him, it goes beyond him. Sometimes those dark mysteries, they just tend to drip down. But before we get into it, please subscribe to see new stories every single week. Now, how about, you and I? We give it a go. This story took place in the deepest of deep Vermont. A place located within the endless forests, hills and lakes of western New England. In fact, this case took place in prime leaf peeper season, mid-autumn. If you were looking for the perfect fall day, then a place you might want to go would be Bolton, Vermont. A tiny wee place, maybe over 1,000 folk call it home. On Friday, October 15th, 2021, newly married 22-year-old registered nurse Emily Ferlazzo and her brand new shampoo husband, 41-year-old tattoo artist Joseph Ferlazzo, they set out from their home in New Hampshire in their brand new, freshly converted camper van. This was to celebrate their one big year, wedding anniversary. It was peak leaf season, so what else would you want to be doing but driving around the twisting, turning roads of deep-ass Vermont, drinking your pumpkin spice lattes and your apple ciders while marveling at the vibrant reds and oranges of dying leaves. When you think about it, it's a bit weird. By that stage, folk would already be getting the decorations out and clearing off the dust of your giant skeletons. It's pumpkin picking time. You're getting ready for the big day that's only about 2 weeks away. The ghouls would soon be on the loose. But some monsters wouldn't wait that long. By the morning of Saturday, the 16th of October, one day after setting out on this supposedly happy, loving time, Emily and her phone, they went silent. None of her friends or family heard anything from her. Joseph, on the other hand, he sent a text to his sister Nikki offering to bring her coffee over that morning to the Airbnb where she was staying. Joe Ferlazzo, he had a lot of connections to this part of Vermont, Burlington and the kind of surrounding areas. A lot of friends there, a lot of family there. So his sister says, yeah, come on over, bring me a cup of joe. Joseph arrives to where she was staying, pops in, has a shower in her Airbnb. And, when he was asked, oh, hey, you're supposed to be on your wedding anniversary trip with your new wife. How's Emily? He said she's grand. She's just sleeping in back at the camper van. She's doing good. The two then went out for breakfast and for mimosas. Nikki asked her brother Joe, at Tattoo Artist, would you mind doing a little scribble right here? He says, sure, why not? And then they headed up to another city called St. Albans, where one of Joseph's friends, he lived there, and they were like, we'll pop into him as well. They then had dinner there before parting ways that evening. Joseph went back to Emily, who was supposedly still in their camper van. The following morning, which was now the 17th, he met up with his sibling again in Burlington. They hung out. They then went back to that same friend in St. Albans and had a barbecue there that night. A few drinks, a few laughs, and interestingly enough, a busy time for Joe, seeing all his family, all his friends in this area when, again, as I said, he's supposedly on his wedding anniversary trip with his wife of 1 year, and he's too busy to see her, too busy to be on the trip that he's supposedly on already. And no one has seen or heard from Emily during all this time. It's weird. Then, the following morning, Joe took a motorbike he'd been storing at this friend's house where, in St. Albans, where he'd been having a barbecue and a bonfire. He took his motorbike and he drove the 3 hours down to New Hampshire to visit Emily's parents, who they had been staying with before they went on this trip. And Emily's parents are like, "Where's Emily? You seem to be having a great time. But where's the person you're supposed to be on vacation with?" Joseph said, "Don't know, couldn't tell you." He claimed that the couple were travelling along the Bolton Valley Access Road in their camper van when an argument started. This was on Saturday afternoon at around 1 p.m. According to Joseph, Emily had gotten out and walked away alone along the side of the road. Joseph claimed he continued on without her and went to a convenience store in the town of Bolton. He insisted to them he hadn't seen her since she left the van, despite claiming to have returned to where he last saw her and had been looking for her, and sending her copious amounts of texts to no response. So first he told his sister, "Oh, she's fine, she's back in the van sleeping," and now he's telling the in-laws, "Oh, she stormed off and who knows?" So needless to say, Emily's parents were not happy nor convinced with Joseph's response to where their daughter was. And they weren't too happy that she had been seemingly left out in the woods alone. Like, that's your wife of 1 year you're talking about. And to say a thing or two about a thing or two, you had left her in the middle of Nowheresville, Vermont. So A, that's weird that she's there and she's seemingly now not answering her phone. And 2, he had been partying like it was 1999 after ditching her.
Right now, Vermont State Police are searching for a missing woman from New Hampshire. 22-year-old Emily Ferlazzo was last seen in Bolton, Vermont on Saturday. Tonight, police say her disappearance is suspicious. Now, just hours ago, Emily's husband, 41-year-old Joseph Ferlazzo, was found at a convenience store in St. Albans and is talking with Vermont State Police. They say Joseph was the last person to see Emily before she disappeared. Officials say Emily wandered off after an argument on Saturday, and that Joseph says he drove to a nearby convenience store, and when he returned, she was gone. The owner of that store is now handing over surveillance video to police. Officials ask that anyone with additional information to please contact them.
Emily was born while her mother, Adrienne, was still a freshman in college. Before Emily was born, Adrienne's life had been lacking direction, and that all came to an end with Emily's birth. And over the years, she went from being an only child to being surrounded by 5 brothers. 4 to Emily's biological father and Adrienne's first husband, and a 5th to Emily's stepfather, Adrienne's second husband, David. Emily was a caring child from a young age and carried that gentle nature with her into adulthood, eventually becoming a nurse. Actually, right before she left for the fateful anniversary trip, Emily had told her mother about her intention to return to cosmetology school. Emily had attended an esthetician course in the past at a school in New Hampshire, but had pivoted at the last minute to become a registered nursing assistant instead. She got a job at a general hospital in Laconia, New Hampshire, and then for a few months she took a job as an LNA, licensed nursing assistant, at the University of Vermont Medical Center. Emily just wanted to make people happy. She was a people pleaser, and she had a strong maternal instinct, showing it through her love of animals and a super tight relationship with her youngest brother. Emily's passions weren't limited to the relationships she cultivated with friends or family though. She also had a creative, artistic streak, constantly belting out her favorite tunes. Emily had moved from her parents' home in New Hampshire to a place called Essex Junction in Vermont in the July of 2020, and that's where she actually met a man who went by the name of Joseph Ferlazzo, who was 20 years, almost 20 years her senior. Bit of a difference, especially because she was quite young, 22, he was 41. And after that, it gets even better because they had only been dating for 4 months before they got married after a whirlwind romance. You know me, not one to judge, but I'm not sure if it's the best idea to marry somebody you have less of a relationship with than food still in your fridge. According to Emily's parents, they were suspicious of Joseph from the start, especially Emily's mom. She thought the older man in her daughter's life seemed to be overly controlling towards Emily, and the problems began early on. Before they even got married, Emily was already having to constantly reassure Joseph that she wasn't cheating on him. It was a home run from the start. I mean, they had only been dating each other a couple of months, and she already had to constantly reassure his paranoia that she wasn't, sleeping with anybody else, to the extent that one day she had to leave work early to placate, because he truly believed that she was with some other guy, and she was like, no, I'm at work. There's a lot of things she should have done to the psycho. Placating him was not one of them. Her stepfather, David, considered Joseph's actions to be a big red flag, but Emily didn't seem too concerned. Her parents would come very close to intervening on several occasions, especially when they noticed Emily having bruises. At one point, Emily confided in them about a particularly bad argument the couple had had. Every time her parents would be teetering on the edge of dialing 911, Emily would reassure them that it won't happen again. He told me it won't happen again. And does he look like a liar? Tragically, I'm sure her parents hate that they didn't go with their gut, but hindsight is always 20/20. If they'd known more about Joseph, specifically an event from 2018, perhaps they would have gone with their gut. Because I'm sure he didn't mention this, he didn't bring this up when he was going for dinner with them. Joseph himself was originally from New Hampshire, the live free or die state. Only it wouldn't be Joseph who would be dying. Joseph worked at Body Art Tattoo in Burlington, Vermont, and seemed to hit it off with one client in particular. This was back in 2018. She didn't give him her number after the session, but somehow she got a text from him, which creeped her out, but she still decided to go out on a date with him. Now, apparently, Body Art Tattoo was pretty shitty. They had a bad reputation, and some people did not feel very safe there. One person commented, after getting a tattoo from Joe himself, "It was really well done, but I felt so uneasy with him the whole time, and so did my friend. We got in the car and vowed never to go back." And it was on this lady's third date with him that during the date, he spiked something. She just blacked out. She then woke up in the middle of him assaulting her. Then when she tried to escape him and run away, he grabbed her, threatening to kill her, saying, "I'm going to stab you, but if you want, you can text your family and friends first to say your goodbyes." She did actually text family and friends telling them to, help her, but of course, as soon as they arrived, Joe would say, it's all just a big misunderstanding. It's fine. Everything is fine. She eventually, calmed down and placated Joe long enough that he wasn't actually going to stab her, and then she immediately went to the police, but ultimately charges wouldn't be filed in this case due to a lack of evidence. But she would say she believed Joe to be stalking her for some time afterwards, until of course then Emily moved to Vermont. So it's unlikely Emily or her folks knew anything about this, but a lot of people did say Joe Ferlazzo gave them the he's a fucking psycho type jeebies. Early in 2021, the couple moved their newly refurbished camper back to New Hampshire and mostly kept the converted van parked up on her parents' property while they were living there. Her parents were helping out with the van renovations, and Adrienne was happy to have her daughter close where she could keep an eye on Emily and the state of their marriage. Like far too many women, she too experienced domestic violence herself and knew how insidious, hard to spot, and equally hard to speak about such a situation can be. Emily's parents did everything they could without an all-out intervention. They even sat down with the couple and helped them talk through a communication plan. And you gotta remember, Emily was so young. She was only 22 years old at the time. Joseph, 41. But Emily was trying. She was trying to talk through all this. Joe? Was he Emily, being young and naive, just couldn't bring herself to leave a real piece of work. And by piece of work, I mean shit. She couldn't do it. Despite all those warning signs that would come to a head in October 2021. Shortly after being told by Joseph that he didn't know where Emily was, at around 7:15 p.m. on Monday, October 18th, 2021, Vermont State Police found themselves responding to a missing persons call from Emily's parents. From the moment the first call was received, the case progressed extremely quickly. The initial missing persons report and BOLO notices on Monday evening were followed up the next day by a press release in which the police made it very clear that they, and Emily's family, had serious concerns for her safety and well-being.
From Northfield was last seen Saturday afternoon. They say the couple had an argument and Ferlazzo went for a walk. Her husband says he went to the store and when he came back, he couldn't find her. Ferlazzo was last seen wearing a long-sleeved black shirt, ripped jeans, and white sneakers. She also has a sleeve tattoo on her left arm and a snake tattoo from her chest to her torso. If you have any information, you're asked to call Vermont State.
Emily's mother did, confide in the police that yes, there had been domestic violence and in their relationship, and the police, announced, we're looking for anybody who might have seen Emily around this time, anybody other than her husband, because he was already suspect. Police were also very keen to speak with Joseph himself. Joseph, who hadn't hung around with his in-laws. He went back to them, don't know where Emily is, and then he was off. The police were looking for him. On Tuesday afternoon, just hours after the first press release went out, Joseph was picked up at a St. Albans convenience store. Joseph had been back in St. Albans hanging out with his buddy, a buddy in which he confided a dark secret.
Yes, my name is Spencer Lemons. I've got a guy that is going towards St. Albans on Route 36. Trying to make a long story short, he's a friend of mine. Came to my house. He lives in a bus thing. He was like, hey, can we go pick up my bus? And we go to pick up his bus in St. Albans, and there's a bunch of cops out front. I said, what the heck is going on? He says he killed his wife. I got him out of my car. He's on this road, and I guess there's a bunch of state troopers at that place. And I was like, no, but you got to get out of my car. And I was afraid. I got to get him out.
When asked about his wife's whereabouts at the scene, Joseph reiterated his story about Emily storming off on Saturday following an argument. Joseph was compliant and agreed to be further questioned about the run-up to Emily's disappearance, the alleged argument, and his wife's possible whereabouts. He was taken to the Vermont Police State Barracks, where this entire story would take a very tragic and a very dark turn.
It is Tuesday, October 19th. We work for the state police, we're detectives. We've been trying to get up to speed on what's going on today, and it's our understanding that you might be able to help us kind of understand a few things. We are happy to listen. Our ultimate goal is to find Emily, and we're hoping that you can help us with that. Is it fair to say that you have an idea of what we want to talk about?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm here to talk to you. You don't have to beat around the bush.
Okay.
I fucked up. Plain and simple.
In the interview room, Joseph gave a very different account of events leading up to Emily's parents calling 911, which they had just done the evening before. In the meantime, officers searched their camper van left behind.
White.
Have you off the body parts on it?
Joseph said that almost as soon as they arrived into Vermont late on the Friday, which was, the first day of their trip, they'd gotten into a big ol' argument. Only thing was, though, she hadn't stormed out like he told her parents she did. She had told him she had enough and she wanted out of the marriage. It seems that to Emily, the straw that finally broke the camel's back was Joseph's idea that he was under absolutely no obligation to be faithful to her, all the while being paranoid about who she may be seeing, making her leave work early, following her around town, all the while he was free to go and hang out with his ex-wife.
As soon as I put the vehicle in park, my wife went completely, completely psychotic.
and I shot her. Then here we are.
That was it. Emily then wouldn't respond to him any further. She just sat down, lay on the bed. Joseph kind of hummed and hawed for about 5-10 minutes before snapping.
Just a lot of hurtful things. I can't even remember all of them, but all I know is I was just dumbfounded. I am punching back. So, and I didn't want to be punching back anymore. So was Emily punching you? I just had like a moment, and like I don't know, like where was she punching you? In my arm, and like kicking me and running, like just like body blows, and she had stopped fighting, and she had gone and laid down. Then I went and jumped on top of her. I shot her. How many times? 2. How much time passed between when she went to lay in bed and when you got the clock out? Anyway, I was between 10 and 15 minutes. That's so she was laying in bed 10 to 15 minutes before. Was she sleeping when you jumped on top of her? Yeah, well, 15 minutes actually sounds long, but it's probably more like 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. Right. I never thought anybody could push me to that.
He got up, grabbed his pistol, climbed up on top of Emily, who was on the bed, in their camper van, put a pillow over her head, and fired twice. She was shot at such close range that both of the 9mm rounds passed clean through both the pillow and her skull, and came to rest on another pillow next to her. She had no chance to defend herself. She was very likely dead before her brain could even register. Immediately after killing her, Joseph retrieved a plastic bag from the camper's kitchen cabinet, which he then tied around Emily's neck in order to stop the flow of blood. It was a clean, cold, calculated execution. Joseph then dragged his wife's body into the camper's cramped bathroom stall before he went to lunch with his sister and her boyfriend. In between lunch and meeting his sister again for dinner, Joseph returned to the camper, and after he moved the van to a quieter location, things went from dark drama to all-out horror show. Joseph took his wife's body and using a handsaw, he began to dismember her. He cut off her feet, her legs, her arms, and her head, placing each into a separate black trash bag. Even with the red flags Emily's parents had noticed, even with the dark history he already had, I don't think anybody could have foreseen the horror show, the grotesque horror show that he would be capable of.
What was the plan with Emily's body? Like, if the police hadn't shown up last night, what was your plan? I didn't really have a plan. I was just gonna take it into the woods and drop it off. I cut her body and put it in multiple bags. Okay. Tell me about that. How did you cut her body? I used a saw and cut her body into smaller, backed it up, and I was going to take it in the woods. Okay. Where did you do that? In the bus. On the bus? So, both arms, both legs, the feet and the head, so that gotta be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different pieces, roughly? That's right. Okay.
Has there ever been any domestic violence or, physical abuse or anything between the two of you?
Again, same kind of thing, it starts off, with her just, looking through my phone, and then she'll walk right up to you and just punch you in the side of your eyeball.
I wish it didn't happen. I wish I could turn back time. I wish that I was just, I don't know. She was saying how she's like, I'm gonna fucking ruin your life, and I'm gonna make sure you lose your license. I'm gonna make sure nobody ever comes to you again. And I was just scared, and I was hurt.
Why was she saying that?
I don't know. I don't know, James. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, she literally was trying to break me down any way that she would, like, I don't know if you've ever just, like, wanted to be a dick.
What would you say?
You don't fucking treat people like this.
The trash bags, by the way, were still in the camper van when the police searched it after Joseph's arrest. At the end of October, Emily's family held a celebration of her life. Joined by friends and members of the community, the family gathered for 2 hours on October 29th to remember Emily and the positive impact she had on everyone she met. Meanwhile, facing charges of first-degree premeditated murder, Joseph had made it clear he intended to contest the charges in spite of his earlier confession and entered a plea of not guilty. In January 2023, with Joseph still being held without bond in the county jail pending the criminal charges, a civil suit concluded following a hearing of the evidence, with Joseph being found liable for Emily's death and ordered to pay her family $1.5 million in damages. While legally speaking, the civil verdict should have no impact on the outcome of the upcoming criminal case, regardless, Joseph being found liable for Emily's death didn't bode well for his defense counsel at the upcoming trial. As is often the case with civil suits, Emily's family, they never really expected to receive the full damages. The suit was more about having an official judgment against Joseph on the record. Plus, it meant that any personal assets belonging to the couple would automatically go to Emily's family. Joseph's actual trial began in December 2024, my friends.
They argued because Mr. Ferlazzo seemed to believe that he didn't have any obligations to be monogamous with his wife, be faithful to her, and she told him she was done. She told him she did not want to be with him, that she could not do it anymore, and that she wanted to leave. And 1 minute after midnight, Mr. Ferlazzo turns off his phone. Done arguing, Emily laid down in bed while Mr. Ferlazzo stayed up and stewed. He became enraged at Emily while she lay in bed scrolling on her phone with her head on her pillow. Mr. Ferlazzo sat on the couch thinking, planning. For what he told police was 5 to 10 minutes. For at least 5 minutes, Mr. Ferlazzo sits on the couch and stews.
The defense called only one witness to testify, in Joseph's defense. That witness was Joseph himself. But hold on to your butts, folks. Contrary to what he had said the first time, the story had now changed. In the initial interrogation and confession, he just said he snapped and he shot her in cold blood. It was almost like at that time he was vomiting up, regurgitating his guilt and his remorse about what he did to this beloved young woman. She was killed before her life had even started. But now, it was a very different Joseph in the courtroom. He'd had 2 years to think about, how can I get out of this jam? He was now pleading his innocence. He still said, yep, shot her and killed her, but now he was saying it was in self-defense. Couldn't be helped. Joseph's lawyer confirmed to the court that Emily and Joseph's relationship was fraught with violence, but it was the 5 foot and a couple of peanuts tall Emily, not the 6 foot plus Joseph, who was the instigator. No, not the man who had a very dark history of dark shit, and it looks like a dickhead. Hell no, it was Joe. Hell yes, it was Emily. Joseph himself painted a very twisted picture of the run-up to him pulling the trigger on the morning she died. He was now claiming that she was baiting 7 shades of shite out of him.
So I was climbing over her, and she shouted, fuck off. And she like threw an elbow at me, and elbowed me in my groin.
Did that hurt?
Yeah, it hurt. It was like right to my genitals.
Did you say anything when she said fuck off?
I didn't say anything when she said fuck off. I got hit in the groin, and I said, no more hitting.
Joseph's new narrative was that Emily had gone off on him, physically assaulting him, kicking and punching him in the balls repeatedly. He claims to have only shot Emily with the Glock 17 already in his hand when she'd gone to get her own gun, a Taurus semi-auto pistol, from under the pillow of the bed. And he alleged that Emily told him,
I said, stop hitting. And that's when it happened.
What happened?
She said, that's it, you're dead.
Well, there's no way to misinterpret that.
And she threw her arm under her pillow, and she pulls her hand out with the Taurus. And
how were you feeling?
I was feeling horrified.
Were you afraid?
I was terrified. I was holding my Glock, and she started just like coming up at me, and I just fired.
Why?
She was going to shoot me.
And you were afraid?
Very.
Throughout his testimony, Joseph's lawyer was forced to constantly lead him to claim, to have been scared, something the prosecution quickly got fed up with and objected to, an objection which was sustained by the judge.
Yes, for some time I said...
So wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Wait.
There's a series of leading questions, Ms. Jansen.
Yes, I've been told. So what did you...
Wait until I finish. So
Oh, okay, sorry.
No more leading questions, all right?
The prosecutor quickly called bullshit on all that and jumped on the absurdity of Joseph's new account.
And as you were using the carpenter saw in the van to dismember Emily, at no time did you have a thought of, I should call the police?
No, I did not call the police.
As you're cutting her arm off and you're getting sick, you don't think, this has gone far enough, I have to call the police?
I don't have a recollection of a lot of the event.
You do have a recollection of getting sick when you did that.
I do have a recollection of, there was one recollection that it's like a flash of a recall of like taking a knife across her leg.
Well, you used a saw to cut her body up.
That's what the evidence shows.
Yes, and that's what you told police in the video.
I have no memory except for there was a memory about the like cutting into her leg with a knife. No, that doesn't seem right. So I actually seem to recall, are we still talking about this, or are you done?
And even directly accused him of lying to the court, having previously been caught in lies told to Adrienne and David, Emily's parents, as well as the police.
So, Mr. Ferlazzo, we can agree that you lie.
Yes, I have lied to people.
You're lying today.
About?
Everything.
I'm sitting here giving you my recall of what I have to work with.
No questions.
See, it was pretty easy to poke holes in Joe's story because the prosecutor pressed him on, okay, so you shot and killed Emily in self-defense, you say, but then you were, over the following 3 days, you were out partying, boogieing, having a great old time, drinking beers, hanging out with friends, hanging out with family. Life couldn't get any better while your dead wife of 1 year, who you didn't even want to kill, lay back in the camper van. dismembered. Not once did he snap to his senses saying, shit, you shot my wife. It's not good. Nah, it's beer o'clock. Instead, all the evidence pointed towards Joseph's original admission of guilt being true. Every action he took from the moment Emily died was carried out with self-preservation in mind. Joseph had multiple opportunities to come clean and admit what happened, but he knew the evidence wouldn't support his claims of self-defense, and so he butchered his wife's corpse, intending to dispose of her remains before they could be found. But instead, he didn't get that chance, leaving her in trash bags inside the camper van. It's horrific. Further to the obvious signs of Joseph trying to hide the crime, using a trash bag to stop the blood spreading, the cutting up of the body, the flipping of the mattress, testimony from the chief medical examiner who handled Emily's autopsy revealed that Emily's body hadn't only been mutilated with the intention of, being easier to hide, but also she had been stabbed another 18 times after her death. And there you go, that's pure aggression, violence. Who know what she did to him, but he snapped and did like the worst of the worst. Maybe she didn't even say she wanted to end the marriage. Maybe it could have been something just purely innocuous, and he was, ready to get extremely violent in the middle of nowhere, Vermont. Lord knows what he was doing in the tree holidays. He had her, in the camper. What a psycho. Hard to top. When asked to account for the discrepancies in the differing versions Joseph gave, not only was he claiming that the earlier confession had been coerced and obtained under undue pressure from the detectives, he also told the court that his memory was, quote, sporadic, and he didn't even remember talking to the troopers on the day of his arrest. This damn mind of mine, my stupid brain, if only it could work, if only I could remember doing, what I'd been doing on the most horrifying day ever. Seems like it would be something that'd be kind of burned up here, but no. Joseph, can't remember. Initially, he said he shot her in the bed, but then later, while in jail, the real memories came back to him. And that's when he remembered the whole self-defense thing that, she came at him with a gun, he shot her dead, and all that. It's amazing how these memories come to you a week after you've already confessed to the police.
You're testifying today about what you remember. When did these memories come to you?
Like a week or 2 weeks, probably closer to 2 weeks later, after being in the cell.
And in fact, his story that she had a gun was directly contradicted by the fact that both of the pistols were his. Emily did not have a gun. His story that he remembers Emily's body falling after he killed her is directly contradicted by the physical and forensic evidence. This case and this crime is about ego. Mr. Ferlazzo's ego. And Mr. Ferlazzo's nearly 42-year-old ego being unable to accept his 22-year-old wife disrespecting him. That ego believed it was his right to cheat on Emily, to have relationships with other women, whether she liked it or not. That same ego believed it was his right to follow Emily one day when she wore her hair a different way and he didn't think she was being truthful to him. That ego was so inflated that even after shooting his wife in the head 2 times, stabbing and dismembering her body, bagging her up, and discarding her like trash, he didn't tell his sister because he didn't want to make a bad impression with her boyfriend. So inflated that he didn't tell his sister because he'd promised not to, quote, dump his drama on her. He considered killing his wife drama.
The jury deliberated for only 2 hours before they were ready to declare a verdict. And it was not a surprising verdict.
After hearing the testimony, it took the jury less than 2 hours to reach a guilty verdict. Emily's mother saying this verdict is the next best thing to having her daughter with her.
Joseph will be sentenced early in 2025. A sentence of life without parole seems very likely. Hopefully, it's one he will get. And before I close out this one, I made a passing reference to Joe Ferlazzo's dark history. And you know what? It's not the first time the name Joseph Ferlazzo has been linked to a horrific murder. In October 2009, Joseph's own stepmother, Young Hee Lim Ferlazzo, was brutally stabbed to death at her home in Upper Gwinnett Township, Pennsylvania. Though it wasn't this Joseph Ferlazzo linked to that, it was his namesake, his old man, Joseph Ferlazzo Sr. See, Joseph Sr., he owned a massage spa called Osaka Therapeutic Spa in Reading, Pennsylvania. But it was one of those, massage, happy lads, massage parlors. Lads leave very happy when they go there. The business was raided by the police 6 months before Young Hee's death. This was in May 2009. They arrested a number of sex workers there. They arrested the manager, or madame, of this massage parlor, who was actually a cousin of Young Hee, and Joseph Ferlazzo, who was the owner of this business. What? My massage parlor is actually like a brothel? You must be joking. Joseph Sr. said he had no idea hanky-panky handies were being handed out like cotton candy in the business that he owned. Authorities found that, hard to believe. Then, in October 2009, so 6 months after the business was raided, Young Hee Lim Ferlazzo was found stabbed to death inside her own house. Joseph Sr. was the man who just happened to find the body. He said he just came home, she was stabbed to death in home, covered in blood. He found her around midnight, he said, because he'd been out grocery shopping at midnight, as you do. Sure, listen, no better. I mean, at least the stores will be quiet. I mean, if they're open, which they usually aren't. But that's what his story was. But he was never arrested nor charged, and the murder of Young Hee Lim Ferlazzo remains unsolved to this day. Police did, when Joseph Ferlazzo Jr. Was, being investigated for Emily's death, the police did want to speak with him about his stepmom. But there's been no progress on that since. But another very horrifying and strange murder runs in the family. And Sinead, my friends, that is the horrifying and disturbing story of Emily and Joe Ferlazzo. A horrifying conclusion to what should have been one of the happy times. Instead, a monster did what a monster does, and poor Emily didn't see it coming. She just wanted to see the best in him, turn things around. But it's like asking a tiger to change its spots or stripes or whatever they have, you know what I mean? He was just gearing up towards what he would do. I mean, he'd been gearing up for it for a while with that previous incident back in 2018, attacking a young woman and threatening to murder her. Then he murders somebody. Perhaps Joe was telling the truth the first time, that Emily, came to her senses, I guess you could say, that she realized that the marriage was deader than a dead thing that's been dead for a long time, and she wanted to end it, and Joe just snapped. But who knows, because I don't think you can believe word one of what comes out of his mouth. So stay safe, folks. Monsters are real, and sometimes, unfortunately, as we see in this case, monsters can be in your own bed. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. Watching this whole video means a lot to me. Hope you enjoyed, if that's the right word, this whole video. But as always, you can check out the That Chapter Patreon, where for $2 a month you get early access to all videos, and there's a whole playlist of Patreon-only videos. Just added a new one. And you can also check out merch down below, which is pretty cool. And you can also check out the That Chapter podcast, where we upload a brand new episode every single Monday, and it's always, podcast exclusive stories, so please, give it a go. But until the next one, which will be up next week, please take care of each other, please take care of yourselves. Because I love you. Mike out.